nature. I yearn for the day when I can be myself without the need for secrecy and pretense. But until then, I'm left to wonder how I can reconcile my desires with the societal pressures that seek to suppress them. I turned a blind eye to my friend sleeping with a minor. So I'm 17 and my friend at the time was 19. Anyway, one day he introduced me to his then GF, who honestly looked 16 to 17. So I didn't really think anything of it, but I found out from a mutual friend who was also 19 that a complicated situation with a friend when I was 17, my friend at the time was 19, and he introduced me to his girlfriend. Her age was difficult to gauge, as she appeared to be around 16 or 17. Initially, I didn't give it much thought, but after hearing from a mutual friend who was also 19, I discovered that she was actually 14 years old. This revelation took place about a month after I first met her. At first, I chose not to dwell on the situation, but it has continued to weigh on my mind. Their relationship eventually came to an end and my friend relocated. The lingering guilt over what I knew but didn't act upon has forced me to confront the issue. TLDR. A friend's relationship with a 14-year-old girl came to my attention, but I chose not to intervene, and now I'm grappling with the consequences of that decision. Edit. I want to acknowledge that this situation was problematic, and I should have spoken up at the time. I understand that turning a blind eye to someone engaging in a relationship with a minor can have severe consequences. Update. My son, 4, told me he was proud of me. Mama, I'm proud of you. You did really good at graduation. That's what my baby told me when we got home today after he saw his mama walk across the stage to receive her degrees. Hearing those words out of his mouth, Eve, a heartfelt moment unfolded in our home today as my 4-year-old son expressed his pride in a simple yet profound way. Mommy, I'm so proud of you, he exclaimed, beaming with excitement as we walked through the front door after a momentous day. His declaration was sparked by witnessing his mother receive her hard-earned degrees at graduation. Though he may not fully comprehend the significance of the occasion, the sincerity in his voice was palpable. That tender moment served as a poignant reminder of the progress we've made as a family and the joy it brings to know that our parenting efforts are yielding positive results. Can I tell my landlord I am not going to leave the premises while she shows the apartment to new tenants? My landlord told us to make sure we are not in the apartment during her showings tomorrow, and I don't feel comfortable leaving all of my belongings in the apartment with A. Can I refuse to vacate the premises during my landlord's apartment showings to potential new tenants? My landlord has instructed us to be absent from the apartment during showings tomorrow. However, I'm uneasy about leaving our belongings unattended as strangers walk through, and we're still in the midst of packing. Do I have a legitimate reason to decline vacating the apartment? In many jurisdictions, tenants have the right to remain in their apartment as long as they're not causing any disruptions or hindrances to the viewing process. This could be due to the fact that they're still in the process of moving out or simply because they feel uneasy about leaving their belongings unattended. Typically, a landlord would need to provide advance notice of the showing and allow the tenant a reasonable time to vacate the premises. If the tenant is still present during the showing, they may be asked to leave. However, if the tenant refuses, the landlord may need to take further action to resolve the situation. To determine the specific rights and responsibilities of both parties in this situation, it's essential to review the terms of the lease agreement. If there's no explicit provision addressing this issue, local tenant laws would likely apply. It's also worth noting that some jurisdictions require landlords to provide tenants with "I enjoy making kids cry." Not every kid, and I don't actually do it, but I've done it a few times with the very annoying kids, not by hurting them or anything like that. I just looked for a subtle way to annoy them. To one, I moved his favorite toy and put it somewhere he wouldn't. There's something satisfying about seeing a child's disappointment, but I'm not referring to causing intentional harm. It's more about finding the right balance between humor and annoyance in certain situations. Not every child, and certainly not every situation, calls for this kind of approach. But occasionally, when dealing with particularly overbearing or demanding kids, I've found myself looking for a lighthearted way to nudge them out of their comfort zone. For instance, I might misplace a cherished toy or object, leaving it in a place where they're unlikely to think of looking. It's not about hiding it, but rather about creating an unexpected challenge that might just teach them a valuable lesson. And, in my opinion, the resulting disappointment seems like a form of karmic justice. I'm prepared for the criticism and potential backlash, but for now, I'll just acknowledge that not everyone will share my perspective on this matter. Narcissistic parents kill. I wonder how many people have died at their hands. I've come close and still might. I have innumerable health problems. I even had delayed onset of puberty due to malnutrition, but my counselor just laughs when I tell her this. Yet the research stands. The devastating legacy of narcissistic parents, it's a haunting thought. But how many lives have been lost due to the actions of narcissistic parents? I'm one of the fortunate ones who has narrowly escaped their grasp, but I still live in fear of their wrath. My physical and mental health have suffered greatly due to the neglect and abuse I endured. Even my childhood development was stunted by malnutrition, a consequence of my parents' self-centeredness. However, my therapist often dismisses my stories, seemingly unconvinced by the gravity of my experiences. Research, however, paints a stark picture. Adverse childhood experiences are now recognized as a primary driver of chronic illnesses and mortality in adulthood. It's time to acknowledge the irrevocable harm caused by toxic, narcissistic parents and hold them accountable for the suffering they inflict. TLDR, research links adverse childhood experiences to chronic illnesses and mortality in adulthood. Toxic, narcissistic parents often cause irreparable harm to their children's physical and mental health. It's time to recognize the severity of the issue and provide support to those affected. Someone finds me to dig up my past, and wants it for that lovely price. I don't know if it's an accomplishment to finally be able to post on here or not, but I've not been so happy to get unsolicited messages about something I no longer do before, so I'm taking this as a W. A stranger has discovered my past, and their interest is driven by a handsome offer. I'm still unsure if it's a significant achievement to finally regain access to this platform, but the unwelcome messages I've received about something I've long since abandoned have, ironically, lifted my spirits, and I'm taking that as a win. Edit. A helpful individual assisted me in resolving the issue with capturing long images. I'd like to extend my gratitude to those who offered suggestions and apologize to the spammers who clogged my inbox. It turns out the issue was unrelated to PS and Messenger. My partner is telling people how I voted without my permission. We have voting here today in the UK. I told my partner who I intended to vote for. In her daily chit-chat with her colleagues told her what they voted for. She reciprocated by telling them who I vote. A discreet voting secret betrayed today. The UK is holding a general election, and I had confided in my partner about my voting intentions. During her casual conversations with colleagues, they mentioned their own voting choices. In response, she shared my confidential information with them, even though she's not eligible to vote. This has put me in a difficult position. I'm unhappy that my partner shared my private decision without my consent, but she thinks I'm overreacting. Now, we're at odds, with her feeling that I'm being overly sensitive and she's being unfairly blamed. Am I the absurd one? Missing sister update. I posted about this a few times. The first time I posted in a different sub but deleted it for my own safety. My sister went missing New Year's Eve at the beginning of this year, and we got